Okay. 3, 2, 1. Nice. There it is.
Yeah.
We are back. $1 Million Radio, episode 6. Damn, I hit my mic. Episode 6, $1 Million Radio. Sorry, it should be episode 7. This is the 7th week of the college football. Dang, 7th week of the college football season.
Flying by.
Yeah.
It's already fall.
It is fall. It is October 7th. No episode last week. I was out of town. Had a good week, but there's just no way for us to do the episode last week. Sorry about it. Griffin Watts, everybody. Griffin is back in the studio this week. No Jacob. Jay Fine is out of the building right now. I think he's still out of town. He went to probably one of the best games in the NFL season so far. Ravens at the Bengals. Sorry, Griff. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
As a Bengals fan,
it hurts, but
it must have been tough to see.
At least you put up 38 points.
Yeah, I saw a stat that said I think the Bengals the last 3 weeks have scored over 100 points, 105 points, something like that, and only have one win.
Yeah.
So
tough out there.
Gotta straighten up that defense, man.
I think we're a little too young on the defensive side.
I think so. Is that what it is?
We're banking too much on draft picks, but we gotta spend some money.
Yeah. I will say the Packers went out and got probably one of the best free agent pickups of the NFL offseason. We got Xavier McKinney as our safety. He now has 5 interceptions in 5 games.
Well, there you go. 1
each week. And I'd like to see him keep that streak going against Kyler Murray this week. That will be great to see, but, only time will tell. But it was a great weekend of football in general, college football, NFL. Had some bangers, man, especially in the college football slate. It was the weekend of the upsets, Griff.
Yep.
And unfortunately, one of those came with Tennessee.
We caught the bug.
Yeah, we I don't know.
I caught the hog, if you want to say.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the hog.
I just feel like as a Tennessee fan, I saw a lot of people overly confident with another SEC road game. Arkansas, they're obviously no scrubs. Their defense came to play, and it really reminded me of the Oklahoma game.
Yeah.
Except we were Oklahoma in this instance.
Yeah.
Arkansas took the fight to us, hit us in the mouth a few times early, and they have a really good defense, man. They do. They shut us down pretty. I don't want to say easily, but I would like to have seen the play calling been better. I would have also liked to see Nico. Seemed like his decision making just wasn't all there in this game. But like I said, overly confident Tennessee fans, people have been thinking we're winning the national championship this year just after the first few weeks. Nico's going to have those games where he's got to have some as a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully this is one of those games that was a learning experience for Nico. It was tough to watch though, man.
Yeah. I mean, how many more penalties do we have than them? At least 6.
I don't know what the penalty count was, but it seemed like a lot of it came just pre-snap and put us behind the chains on most of our drives.
Yeah. Which, you'd think, we went to Oklahoma, dominated primarily on both sides of the ball, but it just seemed like the offensive line could never take that extra step to get ahead of the defensive line of Arkansas this week.
Yeah. We had a couple guys that were making their returns. Lance Hurd, the left tackle, did not have a good game.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be one of our strongest points of the line, and I think he was the lowest rated player in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know how the ratings take into account what stats or what to get, their rating. But a couple false starts from him. John Campbell, our right tackle. Also, they were the 2 lowest grades of all the players that played for Tennessee that night.
And it's never going to result in a win if your offensive line aren't doing their job.
I can't remember his name. Is it Lance Anderson or something like that? He's got the alopecia going on. Defensive end for Arkansas. Number 40.
Right. Yeah.
He was tearing us up, man, all night.
And it didn't matter what side of the line he was lining up on.
And they said that he was the second ranked defensive end in the whole country behind James Pierce Jr.
Yeah.
And James Pierce Jr. had a pretty good game. He was causing havoc and getting to the quarterback, also making some tackles just in general behind the line of scrimmage. Couple plays where Arkansas liked to do the read option, which I would like to see Tennessee do a lot more.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of our running plays
are just
handoffs up the middle.
Runs.
And I would like to see Nico be able to keep some of those.
Yeah.
Like Green did for Arkansas. I think it's Taylor Green, the quarterback.
Also, ironically, a Boise State transfer.
Oh, was he? Yeah, they did say that, didn't they?
He was our quarterback last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a stud, and I think in the broadcast they said that him and Nico trained together in the offseason out in California. I think it's 3D QB camp or something like that is what they called it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool name, but I don't know, man. It was one of those games where it seemed like
right from the jump, you could tell something was off.
It seemed very similar to the Oklahoma game, and I think the offense is definitely what cost us the game. I don't think that's a hot take or anything, but the defense played,
as good as they could.
They didn't play their best game, but there were plenty of times in the game that Arkansas would be driving, and then we bow up, make a stop, force a field goal, even got a missed field goal at one point.
Yeah.
They would go for it on 4th down, and we'd stop them and get the ball back. And the offense just couldn't get going. I mean, we were held, was it scoreless at halftime? Or
I think that's the first time they said that Tennessee hadn't scored in a first half since 2019.
Yeah, since we've had Josh Heupel.
Yeah, that was back when we had Pruitt.
Yeah. Tough game to watch. Very tough game to watch. But like we said, hopefully that's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Not only for Nico, but for Heupel as well. I feel like whenever you have back-to-back drives where Dylan Sampson is eating and scores a touchdown, and then the next drive you don't hand the ball off once and it's a 3-and-out. And there was another instance towards the end of the game, about 3 minutes to go, 3.5 minutes, where we have the ball. We're up 14-13.
Yeah.
We run the ball on 1st down, get some yards, and we don't milk the clock.
Yeah.
2nd down, we snap it with like 10, 15 seconds on the play clock, throw the ball, incomplete, stops the clock.
Yeah.
Have to throw the ball again on 3rd down, don't pick it up, and now we're giving the ball back to them. And that ended up being the game-winning drive for Arkansas. I saw a lot of people that didn't like the fact that we let them score there at the end.
Well, I mean,
but
I was saying let them score.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've seen too many instances of teams leaving too much time on the clock.
Yeah, and once that play that he scored, they still could pick up a 1st down.
Yeah.
And if you make that tackle after they get the 1st down, game's over.
Yeah.
Like we didn't
that
have
was a thought in my head. At least.
we didn't have the timeouts to be able to use them all and maybe force a field goal. I think we got the ball back with 1:17 on the clock.
Yeah.
I was really wanting to see a game-winning drive from Nico, as all Vols fans were.
And I felt like we had it after
I did too.
40.
I did too.
5-ish.
Was it Dante Thornton?
Yeah, Dante Thornton's catch.
Had a big play, very reminiscent of the Brew McCoy catch against Alabama a couple years ago that set up the game-winning field goal. But we needed a touchdown, down 19-14, and
And I feel like, didn't we have 1 or 2 timeouts left?
We did.
Because I feel like as soon as he makes that catch, Josh, you got to call.
Yeah,
you gotta call
and we
timeout.
didn't. We didn't. But there was something pre-snap where we had to use our last timeout. I can't remember exactly what it was, but also, there was also the play where it was gonna obviously be a pass.
Yeah.
Nico muffs the snap and it falls into Dylan Sampson's hands, and he gets a few yards out of it.
Yeah.
Initially, when it happened, we were like, "Why are they calling a run play?" And then you see the replay that shows Dylan Sampson make just a superb heads up play and grabs the ball out of the air and gets 4 or 5 yards out of it. And I think that might be where we used our last timeout after that. But like I said, hopefully it's a learning experience. Nico, you can't run out of bounds there.
You got it. Even if you throw an interception, you got to at least throw it.
You can't.
Just let one of your receivers make a play.
And Nico didn't throw an interception all game. Also didn't have a touchdown pass all game. And I don't think he cracked 100 yards through the air.
Probably not.
Maybe on that last play to Thornton. Maybe that got him over 100. I have to go check the stats. But overall, it was an L. Whether you lose by 5 points or 50 points, it counts the same on the record. Tough environment to play in. Not the toughest. I feel like Oklahoma might have been a tougher environment.
Yeah.
But when you see all the pre-snap false starts and different things like that from our line, it was I don't necessarily know if it was the environment that caused all those things, but we got to play better. And one thing about Tennessee is whenever we have a bye week, we come out sluggish. And I hope that's what was the cause of this very, very slow start offensively. Like we said, scoreless going into halftime. Came back out, got a couple touchdowns from Dylan Sampson in the second half. But ultimately, we just struggled moving the ball, especially through the air. And it was reminiscent of the Oklahoma game in the sense that we struggled through the air in that game. Luckily, we had 2 big plays in the Oklahoma game. One went for a touchdown. The other was a big catch from Brew McCoy down the sideline. And almost had one with Squirrel White going down the sideline against Arkansas this week. But
hopefully he's okay. It looked like he may have had a shoulder injury.
Yeah, Squirrel didn't return. We'll have to look at the injury updates. It is Monday afternoon now. I'm not sure if we've got any updates on that yet, but would love to see Squirrel back. Obviously, he's one of our most dynamic players we've got, I would say. Kind of reminds me of a Tyreek Hill in our offense. I would like to see maybe some designed sweeps or something go to Squirrel every now and then.
Yeah.
Two things that I don't really like to see from our offense. Sometimes they work, and you've got to run these plays to spread out the defense and get the ball towards the sideline. The little wide receiver hitches out when we stack the wide receivers on top of each other, throw it out to the sideline and see if we can get some yards. It's basically like almost a design run in a way. It's obviously a pass, but it kind of has the same concept.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they're RPOs or if they're just designed passes out there. But also, as we mentioned, all the times that we just run the ball up the middle and get like 2 yards maybe.
So I'd rather do that than throw.
Yeah.
Niche screens every.
But also, like we mentioned, man, I'd like to see some read options.
Yeah.
Have Nico. I mean, he's mobile, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's mobile. The last 2 games, he's shown that he can, when he gets the ball out into space, he can make people miss, and he's fast enough to get yards and pick up first downs and stuff. Obviously, don't want to see him take hits, because if we lose Nico, then season's done. But I don't want that to be the reason that you're scared to run the ball with Nico.
Yeah.
He's a tough son of a gun. He took a couple hits the last 2 games. where it's like, ooh, is he gonna get up? Let's get up, Nico. Come on. And he gets
Yeah.
right up and he's fine. But I don't know, man. It's one of those where it's a tough loss. Definitely going into the game, 2 touchdown favorites. The fact that we lost that game is you don't cover 2 touchdowns and still get the win. That's one thing.
Yeah.
You don't get the win at all. It's tough to see. But props to Arkansas, man. They're a pretty good team. I hope their quarterback's all right and can come back and still have a good season. I gotta be honest with you, man. I didn't like the hit that we gave to that quarterback. I thought it looked a little dirty. I'm not gonna lie. Can't remember. Was it Norman Lott that maybe Ollie Norman Lott, something like that?
Yeah.
I think he was the one that just went low, hit him right in the knee. It was a flag, 15-yard penalty for roughing the passer, but it basically took that quarterback out the game.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna beat a team, you want to be able to beat a team full strength and have pride in doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying that he meant to do that. Football is football. Things happen, but it was tough to see the quarterback go out. And even when he did, the fact that the backup led him to a comeback win, that last drive was even tougher to see, in my opinion.
Just makes it hurt even worse.
So we were 13.5-point favorites against Arkansas.
Yeah.
Now we're 14.5-point favorites, this time at home against Florida. What are your thoughts on that?
See, I feel like right off the gate, it's just everybody knows. If you've me being a Tennessee fan all 23 years of my life, we can't beat Florida. Like, how many have we seen in the last 15 years? Probably 3.
We've beaten Florida twice since before Tim Tebow was quarterback.
Yeah. It's just...
Florida had, I think, was it 13 in a row before we beat them in 2016 with Dobbs and Jawan Jennings and Alvin Kamara, Jalen Hurd. And then we beat them at home 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In a game we pretty much dominated until the end. Florida kind of came back and made it a game.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's Florida. I would be a lot more excited if we were 5-0 going into this game.
Yeah.
A lot more confident. I do think that this Arkansas game was one of those that's hopefully just going to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily saying we're going to win the rest of our games, but for our offense to look that slow and sluggish. And the thing about that game, too, is I don't know if it was just the Arkansas secondary or what, but not only were they getting pressure on Nico every time he dropped back, which is an offensive line thing, but the receivers just weren't getting open. There were a lot of comeback routes that got us some yards and first downs, and we're able to start putting some drives together.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, there was nothing going on in the second level with our offense.
Which I feel like that may have been a part of Danico Slaughter being a Tennessee transfer that it plays in Arkansas secondary.
Yeah.
I feel like that may have played a role, and at least scheming and how Arkansas was, disguising their zones and how they were playing.
Yeah. He had a little insight, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. I think he had a fairly good game. Didn't see... Well, actually, we did see a couple times where Tennessee would get a first down and magically one of the players would go down and stop the momentum. Danico Slaughter was one of those players. And then you see when players do that, you see them come back like 2 plays later and they're fine.
Yeah.
It's tough to see. The team that does that the most is Ole Miss.
Yeah.
They did it again with South Carolina. And thinking back to the Kentucky game where Jackson Dart literally you see him tell the running back, hey man, go down. And he went down just for like a free timeout. I don't know what you can do to enforce penalties or punishment, quote unquote, during the game, but I mean something's got to be done because it's such a bad look on college
It's been
football.
an issue for probably
Years.
4 or 5 years now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been multiple seasons where Tennessee. I'm not going to say we were the first team to do the type of offense, the fast paced type of offense that we do, the explosive plays, but more and more teams have started doing that over the last couple of years, and you see more and more defenses start to do that to slow down the offense. I mean, anytime that this happens, you think back to that Ole Miss game in 2021 where
the old golf ball game, as they'll call it.
Golf ball and the Heinz mustard getting thrown out on the field. Tennessee fans, no matter what happens, never trash Neyland Stadium. That was just absolutely pissed me off seeing that. You got to have respect for the historic stadium and the field, that Shields Watkins Field that we play on. I mean, there's so much history and things. You got to have respect for that. So hopefully we'll never see that again. It's also one of the reasons why whenever you buy a drink at a stadium, they always crack it open or take the top off.
Yeah.
Because if you're throwing like full beer cans down, it could be dangerous. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see with Florida, man.
I feel more comfortable if Graham Mertz is starting for Florida, but if Lagway's starting for Florida, he brings that. Quarterbacks hurt us.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that against Arkansas this week. Green is not he didn't necessarily kill us with his legs, but there were many times where he was able to roll out of the pocket, buy extra time, and then hit a receiver downfield. And another thing, man, that was ticking me off about this game was the amount of times that you would see the Arkansas receivers just run free right over the middle.
Yeah.
And I know that's got to be a point of emphasis in practice this week. Defensive coordinator Tim Banks looked like he was losing his mind a couple of times where didn't matter if it was man coverage or zone. The linebackers would just either miss an assignment or get confused or just let a guy just run right across the middle. And on those drag routes, you get it to the receiver in open field. They're able to get a first down pretty easily, or at least 6, 7, 8 yards. And that was one thing that killed our defense. More earlier in the game, I didn't see it much in the second half, nearly as much, but it was the last few years, man, or at least in recent memory, going back to Butch Jones and whatever, no matter what the yardage is on third down, it's like might as well just give them a first down because 3rd and 20 is we're still just gonna give it up.
End up being somehow. A first down.
Either a wide open guy down the sideline, or we saw don't remember what the yardage was, but they were backed up in their own end zone. It was 3rd down, and the running back runs out of the backfield wide open down the sideline, gets like 15, 20 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff just can't happen, man. But like I said, point of emphasis for Tim Banks and the defense going into practice this week. The offense has their own issues that they'll have to correct. Nico is somebody that I feel as much of a competitor as he is going to look at the tape and be able to correct a lot of the things that we saw. So many times where the pocket was collapsing and he would either hold on to the ball too long or not fit through one of the running lanes or bounce it outside and buy himself some extra time. Got to be better at that. But maybe the secondary was just that locked down on us. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we'll see. Luckily, if there is a silver lining, Tennessee is now considered one of those teams that if you beat, you storm the field.
Yep.
I was so looking forward once we're on that last drive and you see all the students like piling
Once
around.
You see them start migrating. You wanted to.
I just want Nico to put that dagger in them where they got to go back to their seats, but it didn't happen. They stormed the field. Another team that stormed the field this weekend. Old Vandy.
Yep.
Oh, Vandy beat Alabama. And I was really, after that game, I was really hoping that we'd be able to talk about this game with our chest puffed out.
Yeah.
But the fact that we lost to Arkansas, and we can't really talk about Alabama too bad right now. Alabama lost to Vandy for the first time in 40 years. And
I think it was 1984. So that would
be 40 years.
Yeah.
And their first ever win against a AP top 5 team, taking down number 1 Alabama. And I saw CBS Sports put up a video of Vandy tearing down the goalpost, marching it 3 miles down Broadway and throwing it in the Cumberland River. And I commented, Vol's little bro. That's what I put. And then we lose to Arkansas. And I got some clapbacks in the comments.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Which it's crazy because I've been across the street from Bridgestone off of Broadway and the Tootsies they've got over there.
Yeah.
And I've literally looked onto that road that they walked that by. And I was like, that's just crazy.
A 3-mile trek is not short. It took them I think they said it took like an hour for the goalpost to get down the road and
hey,
into the river.
That was the best hour of their lives.
Yeah, I'm sure. And we saw on social media the view of some people up in their apartments looking down on Broadway, seeing the goalpost just go down the road. That was pretty cool. So Alabama loses to Vandy. They drop to number 7 in the polls. Tennessee loses to Arkansas. We're number 8. Another top 10 team that lost, Missouri at Texas A&M, and boy did they get the snot knocked out of them the whole game, 41-10.
I feel like Missouri's been kind of fraudulent all year.
They're frauds.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say they squeaked by Boston College.
Barely beat Vandy.
Vandy. So I don't like Missouri. I think they're too cocky.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can. There's a lot of people that can say that about Tennessee, especially now at this point. But Missouri, since Eli Drinkowitz did that thing with Josh Heupel last year, where we stand on business over here, coach. Like, come on, man, you're so corny. Get out of here, bro. I don't know, man. I don't like Missouri. I think they're frauds. I think they proved it this week. Texas A&M's no slum. My mind went blank. They're not. I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. Anyways, they're nobody to be reckoned with, I guess. But 41-10 is pretty bad. Couple more losses in the top 15. Michigan fell to Washington at Washington 27-17. Michigan, I don't know how they're back in the top 10.
That doesn't.
Or they were last week.
Yeah.
I don't think Michigan's good at all, but I guess it's that name, that Michigan name. They won the national championship last week, so they're going to get some extra credit.
Yeah.
But they fall to Washington. Washington got their get back from that natty game last year. USC falls to Minnesota, and it's weird to call these games Big Ten matchups, but Washington and USC, UCLA and Oregon all in the Big Ten now. USC falls to Minnesota 24-17. They were ranked number 15. Ohio State beat Iowa 35-7. Iowa don't know what they've got. I will say Tennessee beat them 35-0 in the bowl game last year. That's all I'll say about that. But we didn't let up a touchdown. Ohio State did. But anyways, one of the bigger comebacks we've seen in college football this year, Miami at Cal. They were down 35-18.
Ended late. You probably didn't see the end of it.
Yeah. I know I didn't. But
it
kicked off at 10:30.
It was probably like 1:30 when I went to bed, and it was still in the third quarter.
Yeah, I don't know. But Miami down 35-18, come back and win 39-38. That is a 21-3 run to end the game. It was a long day you could tell it was a long day for, who was it, Reese Davis? It wasn't Reese Davis. Who was on the call that game? You could just tell though that they were tired. Whoever it was, I can't remember. Chris
it might
Davis
have
or
been
Reese Fowler.
When I was listening to it, it kind of sounded like him a little bit.
But I mean, game day started the day at 6 a.m. over in Cal, and it was a 7:30 kickoff for them, but a 10:30 on the East Coast over here. And it was one of those games where like I wasn't gonna be surprised if Miami dropped because Cal had to travel all the way to Florida State last week, and they lost to Florida State. I think their only win of the year so far.
Yeah.
I don't know if they won this week or not.
I know they lost to Clemson.
Yeah. So, but then Miami going all the way to Cal this week is one of those games where it's like, all that traveling. And keep in mind, they're in the same conference now. Cal is in the ACC. The Atlantic Coast Conference, Cal is in the ACC.
Which, I mean, I'm kind of expecting Stanford and Cal to maybe jump ship back to the Pac. What is it, 7 now?
I think it's the Pac-4 right now, but there have been...
I know they've been in talks to add Gonzaga in basketball.
And Boise State.
Yeah.
Boise State might make that move.
Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and I believe Utah State.
All going to the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Pac-12 remain because if they don't have X amount of teams by 2026, they have to just disband the whole conference.
Yeah.
But don't want to see that happen. But anyway, so Miami comes back and wins over Cal 39-38. And then one more game we'll talk about from college football this past week. Got to mention our boys. Got to mention Boise State. They played Utah State. They won 62-30. That score is not what everybody's talking about, though, Griff. You know who they are talking about?
Ashton Jeanty.
Ashton Jeanty. My boy Jeanty. 13 carries, 186 yards, 14.3 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. Which I saw a stat yesterday, which I believe I sent it to you.
Yeah, I'll go pull that up real quick. He's on pace to
break Barry Sanders' rushing record.
Yeah.
But he's, I believe, 2 touchdowns short of how Barry was halfway through the season.
Just 1 touchdown. So through, what does this say? Through 5 games, Barry Sanders with Oklahoma State in 1988. Barry Sanders had 130 carries, 1,002 yards, 17 touchdowns. Through 5 games this year, Ashton Jeanty with Boise State, 95 carries, that is 35 less than Barry Sanders, 1,031 yards, that is 29 more yards, and 16 touchdowns, 1 less than Barry through 5 games. And there was another, I think that was also sent in the group. Let me see. It compared Ashton Jeanty to the past 2 or 3 Heisman winning running backs. I don't think that's in the group. Let me see if okay. Yeah. So Ashton Jeanty versus the last 3 running back Heisman winners. Going back to 2005.
What? Derrick Henry.
Christian
McCaffrey.
Mark Ingram in 2009 and Reggie Bush in 2005. Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush only had 6 touchdowns through 5 games. Rushing touchdowns. Derrick Henry had 9. Reggie Bush had 601 rushing yards. Derrick Henry 570. And Mark Ingram 487 through 5 games. Keep in mind, 5 games. Ashton Jeanty has 1,031 rushing yards, 16 rushing touchdowns. I'm going to be honest, man. If Jeanty stays healthy, finishes the year on the run he's doing, keeps up the production, and doesn't win a Heisman, they're going to say because of the teams he's played and this and that.
And
he did it against Oregon, too.
Yeah.
He had 190-something yards and 3 touchdowns against Oregon, who is number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ranked number 3. So, Ashton Jeanty, you have our support, buddy. I'd love for you to see I'd love for you to see this podcast or this clip or whatever, but Ashton Jeanty for Heisman is what I will be marching along the rest of the year. I'd love to see
the last 15, 20 years, it's been too quarterback heavy. And I mean, arguably quarterback is the most important position on the field, but there's also 21 other guys out there that are working their asses off.
Yeah. We saw Devontae Smith win one as a wide receiver, and I think that's it. Other than the last running back to win was Derrick Henry in 2015.
That's what I was going to say.
So
10 years ago.
I love to see Ashton Genty win that, man. Taking a look at the top 10, there's been some changes in the college football poll. Texas back at number 1. They hadn't really played anybody. They had their biggest win was at Michigan.
Yeah.
Like we said, Michigan ain't nothing. But Ohio State number 2, Oregon number 3. They've got a matchup this week.
Yep.
We'll get to that here in just a minute. Number 4 is Penn State, followed by Georgia at 5. Miami moves up to number 6. Alabama and Tennessee drop to 7 and 8, respectively. Ole Miss at number 9. And Clemson back in the top 10, number 10. Boise State moves up to number 17.
Yeah.
So they've only got one loss against Oregon. They could easily be undefeated right now.
Yeah.
But we've got a pretty packed slate. I don't think this past week had much of anything going on as far as matchups go. We did see a lot of upsets that made it very interesting this week.
Yeah.
But upcoming slate for week 7, right?
Yeah.
Week 6 or 7. Week 7 of college football, South Carolina at Alabama. Alabama back to 21.5-point favorites. They were 22.5 against Vanderbilt at Vandy. So South Carolina, who's had
bit of ups and downs,
up and down season.
Yeah.
They I think their biggest win was the win at Kentucky in week 2.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that one. I'm staying away. But Red River rivalry this week, Texas and Oklahoma. Texas number 1, Oklahoma number 18, 14.5-point favorites for the Longhorns. Who you got in that?
Because Ewers is still out, right? Or is he on track to be back this week?
I couldn't tell you.
Because I feel like this will be Arch's first true test as an SEC quarterback, even though it is Oklahoma. As odd as that is to say. But
yeah, this is the first ever Texas-Oklahoma SEC matchup.
I feel like it's going to be a close one.
Yeah.
Which,
you don't think it's a 2-touchdown game? Oklahoma's defense is pretty good, man. They shut our offense down pretty well.
Which I know Oklahoma ironically beat Texas last year in the Red River Shootout. But
that was a shootout.
Every year it's a shootout.
Yeah.
So it's just comes down to maybe
and I think Oklahoma's
5 to 10 plays.
Oklahoma's backup quarterback is now the starter.
Yeah.
Hawkins?
I think it's Hawkins.
Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Well, I'll have my eyes on that one for sure while I'm at work all day.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I think this is where game day's going this week. I don't know where else they would go. Oregon hosts Ohio State. Ohio State number 2, Oregon number 3. Buckeyes 3.5-point favorites.
I feel like it could definitely be more. Maybe by the time we get to Thursday or Friday, the line might go up to like 7.
Really?
Yeah.
At Oregon? Eugene Autzen Stadium.
Well, with the way, Idaho walked in there, only gave up, 20-something points?
24, something like that.
Then Boise State walked in there, almost came out with a W. I feel like Ohio State might walk in there and dog walk them.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. High praise for the Buckeyes coming from Griff, man. This will be Ohio State's first test, though. I mean, maybe you could call Iowa a test, but that was...
We'll see, they like to call it a test, and then Ohio State beats them by 28, no problem.
I'm not sure if Iowa was ranked going into that game or not. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Oregon will probably take it to them. Personally, I would love to see Oregon win this game.
Yeah.
I can't stand Ohio State. Sorry, but can't stand the Buckeyes. This is their first test, and I will say, if Ohio State wins convincingly, I will stop talking shit.
Yeah,
I will. I will.
That'll be the line.
If if they win by double digits, I will stop talking shit. If they win by 4 to 7 points, I will give them their props if they cover. But if Oregon wins, man, I'm tooting the horn even more. So we'll see.
Which I guess in theory they'd give more credit to Boise State and Idaho respectively.
Yeah.
But
also another SEC matchup. Number 9 Ole Miss travels to Death Valley and takes on the 13th ranked LSU Tigers. Ole Miss 3.5-point favorites.
I'll take Ole Miss.
Think so?
Yeah.
I'm not too convinced how good
too
LSU is.
Brian Kelly.
Yeah. Grant Nussmeier is one of the most productive quarterbacks in the conference.
Yeah.
I think he only trails Jackson Dart as far as passing yards and touchdowns goes. So that might even be a shootout. Might want to take the over. Let's see what that over under is. Like I said,
probably 43,
43.
44.
Let's go see.
Which
do 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 do. Griff. Over under 64 and a half.
Oh, shoot. All right. In that case, take the over.
Yeah, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. That's a lot of points.
Well, see, that's the one thing I've noticed when it comes to betting over and unders. It's like, unless Tennessee's playing Arkansas, hammer the over.
Yeah. Typically, when you see the over under in the 45 and up, you want to probably take the over. Anything 40 and under, when it gets in 30s, they're not expecting anybody to score, so take the under. We saw that with Miami and New England in the NFL this week. The over under was 35 and a half, and the final was 15-10.
Yeah.
So very interesting, very interesting. But let's see. That was Ole Miss and LSU. We also had number 4 Penn State at USC, who fell to Minnesota. Penn State 4.5-point favorites in LA.
You know what? I'm gonna take USC.
USC
coming off a loss.
Yeah,
because Penn State's looked a little suspect this year. Of course, they barely beat Bowling Green, and
I will say the Minnesota defense is pretty good. So them holding USC to,
I believe PJ Fleck is still Minnesota's head coach.
Not sure.
And they've been, under his tenure at least, they've been in that 7 to 8 win range the last probably 5 or so years.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't ever sleep on Minnesota.
I might ride with you on that one. USC plus 4.5. We'll have to see what the line is by the time kickoff comes Saturday. But
I believe it might be, I can't remember what year it was. It's either 2018, 2019, but a rematch of the Rose Bowl from a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be interesting. I don't know anything about Penn State. I don't think they've necessarily been challenged yet. They're one of the few undefeated teams so far that remain in college football. College football this year, man, it's been one of those. Same with the NFL, honestly. It's tough to tell at this point. I mean, we're halfway through the season. Somehow we're halfway through the season. It's flown by, which I knew it would. But we're halfway through the season, and there's not really teams that are head and shoulders above everybody else. Maybe Texas, maybe Ohio State. But both of those teams hadn't really faced anybody yet. They'll get their chance to prove themselves over the next couple of weeks. I know Ohio State's schedule they're getting to a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Jacob and I were pretty much saying that Ohio State never plays anybody, which is true. But now that the Big Ten has gained all these teams, they got to play Oregon this week. And let me go look at their schedule. It's like 3 or 4 games coming up that Ohio State is, like, if they remain undefeated, then I'll give them their props at that point. They've got Oregon this week. They got a bye week next week, and then they host Nebraska. Not really. And then Penn State. They're at Penn State November 2nd. Okay, so I was wrong. It's really just Oregon and Penn State until you get to the Michigan game at the end of the year. But they had Iowa this past week. Took care of them 35-7. So also another game, Griff, this is going to be a late kickoff.
Yep.
Even later than Miami and Cal. Boise State at Hawaii. I always got to talk about our Broncos. I've been, like I said, I've been a Boise State fan since Ian Johnson and the Fiesta Bowl win back in the day. I've just always loved their blue field. I thought it was cool as a kid. And they were really good in the Kellen Moore days and way back when in the mid to late 2000s. But 17 Boise State, 21.5-point favorites at Hawaii. Might as well hammer it.
Yeah, hammer the over on that one. You say, is there over under on how many yards Genty's going to get?
Well, unfortunately, in the state of Tennessee, you can't bet player props in college football. I did see in some people from other states were posting the Genty anytime touchdown scores, and one touchdown was like minus thousands. 2 touchdowns was like minus 300 or 400. Genty to score 3+ touchdowns was minus 155. You see, like NFL props, anytime touchdowns are usually just one touchdown is usually in the plus side, unless it's like Derrick Henry or something, might be minus 150. 2 or 3 touchdowns is always like plus 1,000. So like, that shows you how good everybody thinks Ashton Genty is. And I'll put the clip in right here. Man, if he doesn't win the Heisman, I'm gonna boycott. I don't know what my voice would do, but I'm starting a riot.
Those people that are Heisman voters, we're coming for you.
Yeah, we're coming. $1 Million Radio. We've got all the say in the world.
But yeah, I might as well go into the backstory of my fandom. I mean, I guess it was inherited because my mom's side of the family all lives out in the Pacific Northwest, and she actually attended Boise State for 2 semesters back there in the early 80s.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I've seen all of it. Trust me.
How good were they back then? Do you know?
I mean, they were all right there for a while.
Did they still have the blue field, or was that?
So they debuted the blue field. It was, I believe, the summer of 1984.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a long time ago.
Yeah.
40 years. 40 years of the blue field. All right, Griff, let's make our picks. Tennessee at home against Florida.
Definitely going to take the under.
The under? Let me see what that is.
The way this offense is looking, man.
54.5 is the over-under. I think we beat Florida 2 years ago at home, like 38-34. Lost to them last year, 23-17 or something like that.
I'm gonna say 31-20 Tennessee.
So not covering, but still winning double digits.
Yeah.
31-20. I think Florida might crack 10 points. I'm going to put it out there. I think the defense I don't even think the defense got embarrassed, but I think that they will feel like they got embarrassed against Arkansas, giving up a whole 19 points. And I think the offense, if I were Florida, I would be looking heavily at Florida defense. I would be looking heavily at the film of the Oklahoma defense and the Arkansas defense, because whatever they did in that secondary, obviously Arkansas got a lot of pressure up front. Yeah. They would bring stunts and blitzes. Anytime there were a couple of times where they lined everybody up, 6-7 people up on the line of scrimmage. Might have one person that drops back. Other than that, they brought everybody.
Yeah.
And Tennessee struggled picking up the blitz, whether it was the running back in the backfield. I know Deshaun Bishop almost basically whiffed somebody coming up through the line of scrimmage. And I don't know if they sacked Nico that play or definitely forced an incompletion, but Nico was under pressure the whole time.
Yeah.
And when he was under pressure, it was tough for him to read the defense. And I think the secondary did a very, very good job. Not many times did Nico throw it to a receiver that was wide open.
Yeah.
So if I were Florida's defense, I'd be looking at those two games especially. You're not going to see much from the Kent State film or the NC State film or the Chattanooga film. But the Oklahoma game, the Arkansas game, you could definitely, if I was the defensive coordinator, secondary coach, even the defensive line coach, I would be looking at those two teams and just basically doing exactly what they did against Tennessee.
Yeah.
25 points and 14 points. That's not Tennessee's offense. So I'm going to say that Tennessee wins. I think the defense holds Florida to maybe 2 touchdowns, maybe.
Hopefully.
A couple field goals probably. I think you also got to think, though, we're in Neyland Stadium now. I think that didn't used to mean a whole lot, but over the last few years, it definitely means a whole lot. Game's definitely going to be sold out. It's going to be loud. It's going to be Florida's biggest test so far, especially offensively. I think the defensive line did a lot of good things against Arkansas. And James Pierce finally had one of those games where, like, that is James Pierce.
Yeah.
And I saw some things that said that over the first few weeks, his draft stock was just dropping and dropping.
Yeah, I saw a mock draft the other day, and he wasn't even in the top 10.
But guess why? Because he's James Pierce Jr., and they're double or triple teaming him every time.
Yeah.
Like, which opens up, other opportunities for our other defensive linemen and ends that end up making pressure and getting to the quarterback. Yeah. So I think he's still one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in the country. And I will say the first season that I ran with Tennessee on College Football 25, guess who the Heisman winner was?
James Pierce.
James Pierce Jr. won the Heisman. And also Dylan Sampson the second time I ran it. But so let's pivot from college football going into the NFL. Had some good games, Griff. One of the best games. Jacob, let me.
Yeah, he called me. Golly, what was it?
Should I text him and see if
like
we can?
6 o'clock-ish? Not 6 o'clock. It was like probably 4:30. He's like, bro, are you watching the TV right now?
He was at the game and called you?
Yeah, he called me in the fourth quarter yesterday. He was like, bro, this is crazy.
Yeah, it was a hell of a game. I mean, what are your thoughts on Evan McPherson? Which, I mean, my bad. I shouldn't even brought his name up. That was not his fault at all.
We'll see when you run the ball 3 times after Lamar gives you the ball.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow is your quarterback. That's the problem.
You're on the what train? What train?
Fire Zach Taylor train. Good Lord, get him out of there.
Griffin, he took y'all to a Super Bowl.
I don't care. Joe took us to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Zach didn't do nothing.
Joe, I mean, the fact that they're 1-4 is crazy with how good Joe and the offense has looked. Barring the first couple weeks where Cincinnati's always sluggish and slow.
Yeah.
Their offense looked pretty dang good. They put up 38 against a very good Ravens defense. But I mean, Derrick Henry, man, he did it to you at the end. I love Derrick Henry. I hate that he played for Alabama, but him being a Titan for so long, just wish him nothing but the best. And it's good to see him play for a team that can actually block for him. Because the last few years at Tennessee, he was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, still getting 3 or 4 yards of carry almost, but he'd get hit by 2 or 3 guys at the line of scrimmage and wrap his legs up and he goes down.
Yeah.
So, but what about the Jets, man? Are they done?
They're done.
They're done. They're in a tough conference or
trust me.
division.
I don't doubt A-Rod, but something about the Jets just
they're cursed, man. I don't know what the curse is, but they're cursed. Looked like he went down with a knee injury or something. I don't know. Did he return to the game? Was that at the end of the game? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I saw a meme that said he was crawling around like he was waiting for a revive in Fortnite. But Texans and Bills, man. NFL talks about player safety, this and that, and then Josh Allen gets knocked out cold and comes back the very next drive. That was tough to see.
Yeah.
Like, he was obviously knocked out for a few seconds. He got right back up a couple minutes later. I don't know how long he was laying down on the field, but there was a good 5 to 10 seconds where he was motionless on the field, banged his head off the turf, and was obviously just stunned. Like, even if he wasn't knocked out, obvious concussion. And it reminds you of the Tua situation a couple years ago where they just put him back in the game. And they have these neurological doctors on the sideline. They got spotters up in the press box that will call down to the field, make sure a player gets out if they look a little banged up or wobbly. And Josh Allen gets pretty much knocked out cold on the field, lays there motionless for a few seconds, and they let him back in the game. Man, that's a tough look. Surprising win for the Cardinals this week, 24-23 over the 49ers. I think there were 3 blocked field goals in the NFL this week. That was kind of wild to see. The Cardinals it was the 49ers blocked one and took it back in that game. Similar to the Seahawks against the Giants. Giants were up 23-20, and the Seahawks were about to tie the game with a field goal. Gets blocked with like a minute to go. Giants house it to the end zone and win the game 29-20. But my Packers looked slow against the Rams in the first half. It was 13. Well, first drive, they drove it down the field. Big bomb to Jaden Reed. What a catch that was.
Yeah.
Play it. Did you see that? That was wild.
That was crazy.
That was wild. But they scored on that drive and then had 3 points going into halftime, kick a field goal as time expired, 13-10. We're down. Yeah. And then Jordan Love, I'd rather the Packers be a second half team than a first half team like the 49ers are. They come out looking good in the first half and then can't do anything in the second half. I like the fact that we're a second half team. I would like the fact even more if we were a 4-quarter team. I think we'd be undefeated. I think we would be one of the best teams in the league if we could do something in the first half. But that's just not how we roll. Anyways, we got the win, though, against the Rams, 24-19. And the game, the week, I guess the Sunday slate wrapped up last night. The Cowboys beat the Steelers after an hour and a half rain delay or storm delay. There was a big old storm that came through Pittsburgh. Game didn't kick off till 9:45. I don't know what time the game ended, but Dak Prescott became the first player to ever throw 2 interceptions in the same game that happened on different days.
Leave it to the Cowboys.
Boys did win 20-17 over the Steelers. Steelers are a pretty good team, man. Their defense, Mike Tomlin's team's always going to be very stout defensively. I would have hit a plus 800 parlay if Justin Fields would have had 13 more rushing yards.
Yeah.
I had him 40 plus and he got like 27. I was thinking about making that 25 and he would have hit if I did that. But me being greedy, it went from plus 600 to plus 800. And I was like, ooh.
Looks good. Some extra.
Looks good. But Monday night game tonight, Chiefs host the Saints, 5.5 point favorites for Kansas City. I think I've learned this year that I'm not the best at predictions.
See, yeah, I feel that same way.
I think the Saints will
coming on here.
I think the Saints will win this game. I think Kansas City.
Hope so.
Kansas City's due for a loss. They're the type of team that is 4-0 and they're never happy with how they play, which is good. That's not a bad thing. Maybe they put it all together this week and clobber the Saints and cover 5.5.
Yeah.
5.5 in the NFL is a lot of points, though. And I think the Saints, if they can have a good game like they had in the first
The first 3 weeks.
Yeah, first 2 or 3 weeks, they were really good and been kind of struggling a little bit the last couple weeks. But I think the Saints will at least cover this game, if not win outright. Looking forward this week to week 6 of NFL action, we kick off Thursday night. It's the Niners at the Seahawks. Niners -3 favorites. What do you think about that? The Seahawks are a pretty good team. They just lost to the Giants. I think they've lost 2 in a row now. Last week to the Lions. Monday Night Football game. There was a Monday night doubleheader last week. I was at maybe one of the most boring games of all time. Titans at the Dolphins. Tennessee got that win for the first win of their season. They had a bye week this week, and then they played the Colts on Sunday. I think it's in Nashville. But so Niners and Seahawks, who you got in that one?
I'm gonna say the Niners bounce back.
Think so? It's a bounce back game for San Fran.
Oh yeah.
And then on Sunday we open it up in London once again. Bears and Jags. Chicago -1.5 point favorites. Jags picked up their first win of the season against the Colts, 37-34 yesterday. They were winning by, I think, like 2 touchdowns for most of that game, and Joe Flacco came back. He even showed, he is, but he even showed he had some legs on him yesterday.
Don't doubt Joe.
Yeah. So I would say,
I feel like this is gonna be a low scoring game.
they seem to always be low scoring and
the
overseas.
the travel and
Yeah. Bears looked pretty good yesterday. They played the Panthers, won 34-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams had 2 or 3 weeks in a row where he's thrown over 300 yards. He looks like he's getting it clicking. I'm going to take the Bears.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears too.
I don't like it, but I'll take the Bears. I don't like this line, Griff. Ravens host the Commanders. Baltimore -6.5.
That's gonna be bet the over on that one for
Think
sure.
so? Jaden Daniels, Commanders have been the surprise of the NFL by far. I don't think there's been a more surprising / impressive team than Washington. I think they went, what was it? They were 4-11 at one point last year, and now they're 4-1 already. Very interesting. I'll take the Commanders +6.5. What about you?
Yeah, let's say I'll take them by a touchdown.
Think so? The Commanders?
Yeah.
Think the Commanders win by a touchdown. Okay.
Yeah.
Commanders money line. Let's see. I don't know. Packers host the Cardinals -5.5. Too many points.
Yeah.
Too many points. I'm not saying the Packers will lose. Arizona's one of those up and down teams so far this year. 5.5 is, like I said earlier, it's a lot of points in the NFL. Could be one of those games where we come out on fire. But if we struggle in the first half like we have the last couple of weeks, I mean, we were down 28-0 to the Vikings. Outscored them 29-3. We got a touchdown right before halftime and on into the second half. But you let up 28 unanswered points, it's hard to win a game. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of tough. I'll take the Packers to win that game. Might want to take the Cardinals to cover, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Also, we've got the Lions at the Cowboys. Detroit -3 favorites.
Let's see how Jared Goff played on Monday. I feel like I'll take the Lions.
Yeah, they had a bye week this week, so rest it up. Maybe they can get some injuries, some injured guys healthy. But you never know after a bye week. You might be a little sluggish.
Yeah.
Cowboys coming off a win last night against a good defense. Cowboys also have a lot of injuries, especially defensively. But the Lions offense is one of the more prolific offenses in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, really. But who you got in that one?
Which game was this again?
Lions -3 at Cowboys.
Let's say, yeah, I'll take the Lions by a touchdown.
All right, you heard it here. I'll take the Lions to cover. Cowboys, they should be better than they are.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that worries me. Maybe they end up putting it together. I think
and
Detroit,
I did see CD and Dak getting a little chippy.
Yeah.
That was before.
That was before they came back
Yeah.
and won. But, yeah, I'm going to have to go Detroit on that one.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football this week. Bengals, your Cincinnati Bengals at New York Giants. Cincinnati favored 3.5. How do you feel?
Like 1.5 with
Think
how
so?
we've been playing, but golly.
Giants came to play against the Seahawks this week. Got the win 29-20. I think that's their second win of the year.
Yeah.
You think you're gonna win?
I'll take my boys
To cover or win?
to win, but I don't think we'll cover.
I bet Cincinnati wins by a touchdown at least.
And if we lose, Mike Brown, I'm talking to you. Fire Zach Taylor immediately.
So that'll be Sunday Night Football, and then next week's Monday night game, the Jets host the Bills. Bills -3 favorites. We'll see about Josh Allen. If you think he's going to play, go ahead and take that 3 points. If Josh Allen doesn't play, you might want to go ahead and mark Aaron Rodgers and the Jets to cover 3, maybe even win that game.
Yeah.
While the line is still kind of low. But man, like I said, Josh Allen, I hope he's all right. He looked okay. Didn't really look like he was struggling to walk straight throughout the rest of the game. But that's one of those things that, if he, let's say, and I don't want this to happen. I don't want to speak anything bad into existence, but if this ends up being another Tua situation where he has that hit, and then in this Jets game maybe he gets hit again and it
looks a little woozy at one point.
It's going to be a bad look for the Buffalo Bills and their athletic training staff, neurological, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So if there was one team that you were to pick to win in the NFL this week, in all the games that we've talked about, who do you think it would be?
Mm-hmm.
There have been some games that we haven't talked about, like the Titans and Colts. I think the Colts in Nashville it's basically a pick 'em -1.5.
Yeah, I want to say the team I feel probably the most confident in is Detroit, oddly enough.
Detroit at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Let's see. We also have the Saints hosting Tampa Bay. Saints -2.5 against Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. Eagles -8.5 against Cleveland. That's too many points.
Yeah. Well,
that's too many points.
I was going to say it might even be worse than that with how Cleveland played against Washington.
But also, you got to think how the Eagles have struggled this year.
Yeah.
I think they had a bye week. They did have a bye week this week. Hopefully, for the Eagle Nation sake, hopefully they get A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith back after the bye week. But they got routed by the Bucks.
Yeah.
They've had a couple losses that shouldn't have been losses, maybe. Barely beat the Saints, lost to the Falcons, beat the Packers in week 1 in Brazil. I don't know, man. I don't know about that one. I think 8.5 that's one of those games where they make the line so one-sided. 8.5 is a lot of points in the NFL. You got to win by 2 possessions to cover. Obviously, Cleveland is Cleveland. They're not good. Deshaun Watson is
arguably the worst contract in history.
not
of all
even
sports.
Yeah, I was about to say not even worst NFL contract, one of the worst contracts in the history of contracts. But he hasn't looked good in the 2 seasons now that he's been back playing for the Browns. I don't know. I hate to go with the Browns, but they might even win that game. I'm gonna be honest. Plus 360 money line, plus 8.5, minus 105.
Yeah.
Give me the Browns. Chargers minus 3 favorites in in Denver. Denver looked pretty good. Denver might win that game actually. I guess they're taking the fact that Justin Herbert's coming back into that line. Steelers at Raiders minus 3 favorites. If I had to pick one team that would just win outright that I'm pretty confident in, I don't know.
I'll say the Bengals.
It's hard to do, man. This is hard. I will say this is tough. Texans minus 7 favorites at the Patriots.
See, that might be the one to take.
Who, the Texans?
Yeah.
Just money line or with spread?
With the spread.
Over under 37.5. It's pretty low.
Yeah.
Texans could put up 37 themselves. My one play of the week, Commanders plus 6.5 at Baltimore. That'll be my one play.
Yeah.
But anyways, you got anything to say to wrap up today? It's been thanks for coming in. It's been a good episode we've had so far. A lot of football talk, man. We stayed on track, on point the whole time.
Which, off topic, shout out to the Cincinnati Reds hiring Terry Francona.
Okay.
As their new manager.
Yeah. Who do you have winning the World Series this year? I don't know anything about what's going on right now.
At the moment, it's a bit up in the air. But knowing how bettors in baseball like to work, I'm sure it'll be the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who do you have winning?
You know what? Let's let Shohei get a ring. I'll say the Dodgers win the World Series.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. Freddie Freeman, former Brave, he's still with them, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. Yeah. Do you have we didn't talk about this before. Do you have a song? A $1 Million Radio Song of the Week?
Oh shit. Well, I'll go ahead and plug my band. Why not? We released my band Weeping Cosmonaut released the EP last Friday on the 4th called DIY. Everybody go check it out. You can play the lead single from that, Trip.
Okay. I'll play it as background music right now. Trip, is that 1 P or 2?
2 P's.
2 P's. Mm-hmm. Trip with 2 P's. Alrighty. I think that's been a single for a while, right?
Yeah, it was our lead single for the EP. We've also got a music video out on YouTube. After you click off this, you can click onto that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out, I guess y'all were working with Mike Nelson.
Mike Nelson from Park Ridge Recording Company.
Shout out Park Ridge. We've worked with Mike with Jackson Avenue, recording drums and stuff. He's one of the best producers I've ever met. Yeah, he's been in it for, I think he said 15 years.
Yeah.
He's from, I think, Rhode Island and
lived in Nashville.
Worked in Nashville at a studio in Nashville. I don't know what his story is, how he came over to Knoxville, but definitely glad to have him over here.
Oh yeah,
in the Knoxville music scene. So Weeping Cosmonaut DIY EP, go check that out. Shout out everybody over at Weeping. If I had to pick one song that I've been listening to over the last little bit. I know when Jacob was here last episode, we talked about how I've been getting into Sleep Token.
Still yet to check them out, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, they're heavy, but also a lot of, I don't want to say electronic music, but a lot of the like hip hop type samples and stuff that go into their music with the drums and different synths and leads and stuff. But little story with this song is called Chokehold. It's the lead not single, but the lead song on their album, their last album. I was flying to Florida on last Sunday, and right when we were taking off, I was sitting by this couple, and I had this song going, and it's like really heavy. I don't know what the timing is. It might be in 4/4, but there's so much like different stuff that goes on with the beat and everything, and kind of has a gent type of feel to it. But it was, as we were, the engines go and you do that, we start taking off down the runway. This guy that I was sitting beside did one of these, and I had this song going. It was just like it was a pretty cool feeling, but it's like, if this goes down and I'm listening to this song, it's one hell of a way to go out. But Chokehold, Sleep Token, check it out. That is my $1 Million Radio song pick of the week. And I think that does it for us, Griff. How you feel about today? I think it was a success.
Pretty good.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, man. No Jacob this week. He is still in Cincinnati, but I'm sure he'll be back next week. But you're also more than welcome to come back anytime, man. Appreciate you helping me get through this episode, and
I gotcha.
And a lot of good football talk this week, man. I'm excited to start putting this one together. But anyways, this has been episode 6 of $1 Million Radio. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate all the support. Shout out my boy Cliff at Dead End. Cliff's one of the maestros in the back that helps put your food together for you. So come on out to Dead End anytime you want. Great food. Great people that I work with over there. He's been listening to the show last few weeks, and he told me, he's like, man, you were gone all week. You told me there wasn't going to be an episode. I just couldn't wait to see you again, man. I was like, we're doing it again on Monday, and this should be out by Thursday. So that's been a good day for me to get the editing process done and all that. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been $1 Million Radio episode 6. We'll see you next time.